what our esteemed speakers or panelists have to say about such topic. Please welcome Ms. Aksha Sachdev, who is with us, who is an Associate Director, User Experience Strategy, Fractal Ink Design Consultancy. Welcome, Ms. Sachdev. We have with us Mr. Anurag Garg, founder and CEO of Nivesh.com. Welcome, Anurag. We have Mr. Apurva Chaudhary, Senior Vice President, Head, Online Business and Digital Marketing, Motilal Oswal Financial Inclusion. And we have with us Mr. Kunal Bhardwaj, Senior Director, Marketing at Upstox. Welcome all of you. And I must request Mr. Ashish Tiwari, who is the Chief Marketing and Digital Officer, Future Generally, to moderate this session, please.
Thank you, Namita, and hello, everybody. I think it is a session which at least I was looking forward for, because we are going to really touch upon some very relevant topics and some very relevant stuff when it comes to looking at the journey of mobile. I mean, at least I don't know about rest of you, but I can call myself coming from the era whereas I was born without technology. And I have lived through my entire working life struggling or working with technology. And it is getting more and more condensed on an everyday basis. Today, give and take, depending on which report you are referring to, in India, you can look at almost about 440 to 520 odd billion of connections you can look at. You can also look at a tele density of almost about 80 to 90 odd percent. You are looking at active internet users, and there are multiple different metrics you can take. But for me, the most interesting metrics is when you look at something getting used, and when you actually walk out in the market and you can actually safely walk into a shop, eat, and pull out your mobile to pay rather than looking out for your wallet, is the proof of pudding. And that is what I think mobile has done. It has actually created a trust economy, whereas people trust more on audio jingle which comes out once you pay rather than actually looking at. I mean, remember those days when you used to give out somebody a $500 and he or she will look at it in 5 different directions and motions? That has completely changed today, in fact. And one of the most interesting sites which I had on this was when I looked, I don't know whether it was real or it was a meme, but I looked at a picture that somebody asking for a donation was carrying a QR code on roads. Okay. And this gentleman carrying a QR code seeking a Saturday money or something like that. Okay. That was, that actually talks about that we have moved as a country. And we have very interesting panelists today. Aksha comes from, she is a marketer turned techie turned user evangelist. We have on another hand Anurag, and in fact we can certainly call him as a serial entrepreneur among us, who has created multiple businesses. This is like his third business which he's creating now, and he goes to the hinterlands. We have Apurva and we have Kunal. Kunal looks at how country can create more wealth, and Apu basically drives the financial inclusion. He kind of ensures that technology and money reaches out to the last mile. So let's kickstart, ladies and gentlemen. And I would want you to give your opinion on what you think has been the role of mobile in financial inclusion and how it has actually impacted a country like India. In any particular order, whichever way you like. Aksha, Anurag, Kunal, Apurva, anyone?
Okay. I'd like to start. Yeah. Thank you for the kind introduction, Ashish. And I would say that mobile has really, played a big role in promoting financial inclusion in the country. Simple reason, because the desktop was not really accessible to the masses. While mobile is, it's much cheaper to own and also to operate and carry along, right? So to promote financial inclusion, it is very important that when you want to do a transaction, the technology should be handy, and that way mobile plays a big role, because you could use it on the go. And the surge in the UPI transaction that you can see is thanks to the mobile, right? If mobile was not there, you would not have seen that kind of surge in the UPI transaction. And that is happening all over India. It's not just limited to the urban areas. Right? We see a lot of our customers using UPI for their payments, and they ask for UPI-enabled payment, which is a very encouraging sign. So, for our venture also, like you see that, mobile is used a lot, the highest share of users versus desktop. So in my view, it's really, the game changer, and adoption has been very good. Though there are some constraints, but I think things will just keep improving from here on.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Akshay? How do you see the role of mobile in financial inclusion in a country like India?
Yeah. I think Ashish and Anurag, you both touched upon really well on how UPI has actually come in and changed the way we pay. I want to look at the other side of the user in this same situation, who's the merchant. And this merchant is an important person as well. The reason we're able to pay this conveniently is because those merchants, the small merchants across our country, decided that yes, they also wanted to be on UPI. And that actually is a great point, an example of lowest effort entry point that we've been able to provide to a user who was not entirely digitally acquainted and wasn't even probably on the same language as the mobile is today. And despite that, just a sticker of a QR code on his storefront is actually enough for him to be on board on this journey with us. So if we had to see both the sides of this coin, which is the user conveniently paying using a tool and the person who's receiving also conveniently entering this new era, I think UPI is one amazing example where we've been able to use actually smart design to bring the two together. So with both of you, when we talk about removing barriers with the help of good design for our users.
Mm-hmm. Apurva, do you also think that it is only limited to UPI, or is there more to do with mobile and financial inclusion than just the UPI? To your view?
Well, UPI has certainly enabled the companies and the brands and even the audience to transact flawlessly. I mean, from our perspective in the investment space, I mean, definitely UPI has helped. In fact, the exponential growth which you have seen in the broking and investment space, at least I'm talking about my industry, it has actually coincided with the whole data revolution which took place, post 2016. The client acquisition has been huge. I mean, we were at around 25 million accounts at industry level, and today we are over 85 million accounts and still acquiring at a rate of 2.5 million accounts a month. So what mobile essentially has done is it has made easier for the broking players to. There are two aspects. One is from the brand perspective and one is from the audience perspective, right? So from the brand's perspective, I think it has become very easier for the broking players to reach out to these end customers who are actually sitting in this tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and that too at a very lower cost through digital marketing. Now the brokers are also able to educate these clients through videos which are consumed through YouTube. They are able to create a desire in the minds of these audiences, to try out new kinds of investments in new segments through influencer marketing, and finally onboard them at a very low cost through this whole Aadhaar-based eKYC. And because of this low cost of acquisition, now these brokers or these brands are able to provide them with a low ticket size product, which wasn't earlier possible due to the whole business model or the profitability matrix. And from the audience perspective, with this easy and cheap access to mobiles and mobile data, we have seen I would say a convergence in the behavior of the whole audience, especially the rural population in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. We see a lot of eagerness in the audience to consume branded content, which normally is aimed at educating them before actually taking the final plunge, into the stock markets. Because of this, mobile audiences now become more self-driven. They also expect the brands to serve them in a manner which suits them, instead of the other way around. So the audience, and because of UPI, obviously the audience is now comfortable transacting online. it's not only UPI, when it comes to experiences, I mean, the e-com giants like Amazons and Mintras and Ubers and Zomatos, whatever, so people have not got used to that. They expect that kind of an experience. So, and look at all those things. I think when it comes to mobile, I think the UI, UX, ease of transactions, these are, I think, of utmost importance. If at all a brand wishes to build that customer stickiness or loyalty or.
No, I think Apurva, you have touched upon very, very valid points, and we will touch upon some of them later in the conversation. I would want to go to Kunal because of he actually is at the helm of driving the entire financial inclusion, and that's what he does on a day-to-day. And let's hear him out. Let's hear his views on, has mobile actually kind of delivered the job? Is it been the game changer in the entire financial inclusion journey? Kunal, over to you. And you are on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me now? I was patiently listening to all the eminent speakers here, so I didn't want to interrupt in any way. But okay, so I'm going to answer that by taking one step back from what I'm doing right now and talking about mobile phones as a tool. In the last decade, I've worked primarily in companies that are driven by mobile phones. So everything from a ByteDance to my own startup in gaming, it was all mobile phones. That being said, still these, and this is all, I'm talking about smartphones. I'm not talking about feature phones right now. Now, if I have to break it down and at the base level, define what a mobile phone does for either a business or a consumer is to offer convenience. Now, if I layer that convenience with trust, especially important in financial transactions, and give him solutions which he would generally have to travel to a location, go through myriad number of forms, speak to at least 67 people and spend close to about or minimum 30 minutes, then I think mobile is the only answer to all the problems there. That being said, looking at the numbers that we are kind of gunning as Upstocks, and we are a mobile only, a mobile dominant kind of a platform. The numbers that we are getting, especially from non-metros and especially from non-male, so female category, is insane because people are understanding the fact that, look, at the end of the day, this is something that's lying with you at your home. And with the assurances built in, this is a viable and a feasible form of conducting any and all your financial transactions.
Okay. Which is very, very interesting, I think. And you very specifically mentioned females because of, I understand after coming to BFS, I understood how skewed the categories towards male and how they look at it. So I'm sure that there is something which the device has certainly done.
I see it at home, right? My dad can still experiment with money, but my mom, she's going to be super serious about where she's spending and who she's spending. And plus, telling that category of of my consumers, and I'm being very dispassionate about it. Okay, so telling that category of consumers to trust a faceless AI-powered device with their life savings is the most difficult task that's there out there.
In fact, Kunal, you touched upon a very relevant topic which I wanted to kind of pick up next. See, the category code for entire financial industry is trust. That's said about, and I think all of us as marketers understand that. And I would want to probably go back to Aksha once again because of she's, and I would want Aksha you to kind of don the hat of your earlier era avatar of being an advertising person. What kind of a user experience do you design today, and what kind of a learnings can people take from that design, which has helped building trust on what Kunal just said, a faceless, nameless AI, so that people can actually trust with you with their money, or people can trust the institutions with their money or with their future earnings?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, one of the biggest parts of what we do as experienced designers is to put ourselves in the shoes of the user and look at the worries that they go through, look at the pains that they go through. And one amazing example that came out of that was as camster as India can be, we had found multiple and sophisticated ways of cheating UPI payments as well, right? Like we have ways of actually displaying a confirmation screen of payment when actually you haven't made the payment. And that also led to a new innovation in the area of UPI, which was a voice-enabled POS system, which actually intimates you that X amount of money has been credited into your account and it can come in your language. And that is again amazing design, right? Because it did not stop at telling the customer to go open the app and show a proof and send a page, but it actually took care of it at the merchant's end, and at the same time assured this merchant who had never before taken a digital payment that actually, it is possible to get on the bandwagon and not be afraid of the fact that you're going to get cheated if you go down this route. And similarly, when it comes to investments online, a big driver has been our new recommendation engines, and data science is about to start playing a huge role in the way we're going to start investing. It starts in smaller formats of micro investments, and it sort of brings you in at a very early age. It was a great example, Kunal, that you gave, that the female audience are now starting to actually grab on. And that is also seen in younger female audience who are just out of college in their first jobs, thinking about how to save their money and thinking about those small SIPs and smaller investments that portals are now allowing them to make, and sort of helping them stay risk free by profiling themselves first. And that is the power that we did not have before. And that level of advisory that AI is able to offer today is something that is very promising and powerful in the hands of a user.
Yeah. In fact, you very rightly said that it is about, the revolution is not about technology. It's about bringing that entire habit change or reassuring the customers that their choices are going to be right and technology is going to just play the role of the enabler, will actually help connect with the consumer. And that kind of brings me back to you, Anurag, because of you work into a category, whereas, you are into a B2B2C kind of a business, okay? And you enable the enablers who then go and probably get really large size investments at times, okay? Why should somebody trust you to run their business, okay? And how has mobile helped you in reaching out and in creating that trust with this person who is actually running his own business? Yeah. Would you want to throw some light on that?
Sure. See, trust is very, very important. You're very right in that. And see why the trust deficit was there, because there was no visibility to the investment, right? One would make in the earlier era, in the offline era. And what is happening to that? And if I want to transact today, can I transact, right? Or am I dependent on certain other factors? So, mobile has really helped in taking care of these factors. So through mobile today, our customers can track their portfolios every day. And we see people logging in just to check what is happening to their portfolio. And also what it does is it, automatically creates investor awareness. Because if you see that movement, you are able to understand how the portfolio is behaving in sync with the market movement, right? Over a period, it helps in really, bringing in that expectation that, market value will keep going down, but it'll ultimately come up also. In fact, we were told initially that, if you give this on mobile and people see value going down, there'll be a lot of impulsive reaction. But I said, see, it's very important that people should understand what happens when there is a market volatility, right? And then ability to transact whenever they want to transact is really a great feeling. So we would encourage them to, okay, put redemption, money will come into your account in 3 days. And there's a big factor for people in tier 2, tier 3 town. Right. So all of this combined has helped, create a huge trust factor, and we see a lot of repeat transactions because of that. And we are enabling intermediary also. So initially, even the intermediaries were circumspect that, why should you be managing my business? But see, ultimately, it's a, win-win for both, because intermediaries also need to be, digitally equipped to offer the same experience to their customers. Because if they don't do that, they'll ultimately lose their customers to somebody else. right? And then we also enable them to be able to transact for their customers on real time. So let's say 2:30, 3 p.m. is a cutoff time for mutual fund redemption, and 2:30 customer wants to redeem something, and if they are not in front of their desktop, or let's say, the offline, they cannot place a transaction, they're stuck. But here, even if you have a few minutes to go, you can go ahead and place transaction for your customer. Right. So overall, it becomes a very compelling proposition to be on this kind of platform and to use the mobile app. And we see the users, continuously increasing. And of course, the lockdown was a big enabling factor when people could not go out and they had to be dependent on technology to be able to transact.
Yeah, I think lockdown certainly accelerated, and it's a case study for the word, the India stack as they typically called, or the jam stack as it has been typically called as Jandan, topped over with the Aadhaar and topped over with the mobile. This is a case study for the word to pick up, whereas so what was the India's challenge? India challenge was about having India created one of the largest identity program where you can identify the last mile person. Okay, the technology stack with the government and public private partnership created a tech stack where the data can flow openly and in the real time, and information and data real time, topped over with the security layer and the experience layer, built it up. That kind of brings me back to you, Kunal. Okay, see, if you look at India, and especially to you because of you drive financial inclusion, if you look at India, currently we have three different very, very distinct Indias in one. Okay, and I'm not talking about India and Bharat only because of urban and rural divide. You have people who were born without technology, lived their life without technology, who are somewhere around 50s, who have kind of continued major part of their working life was without technology. Okay, and then they became Facebook. Suddenly they came on Facebook. You have second generation, which kind of was born without technology, but grew up and kind of adopted it and studied or started working with technology. And the third, which has probably been clicked on a mobile phone, their first picture, and they have grown up with the technology. And all these three people today have the power of investing. Okay, all these three have money in their hands. Is there a differentiated role, or is there a differentiated role brands have to play to include these three different generations, or there is a different penetration of inclusion, or is there a different role which mobile plays in terms of financial inclusion to these three generations? Kunal and Apoorv.
That's, I think, a great question. That's a very broad question, to be honest. Okay, let me start off by saying, okay, some facts. So about roughly 96% of our country's population either does not, or is unaware, or is afraid of these new financial instruments, the segment that we operate in. Okay, so that's, in other ways, 96% of the public in our country is still dependent upon fixed deposits, physical gold, and bank savings accounts. Now let's go back and talk about the lockdown and the pandemic. The biggest challenge for any brand or any marketer is to occupy that half an inch and by half an inch of a space within somebody's mobile phone, which is your app icon, right? And while we were in the lockdown, we did not just see financial brands quadrupling their business. We also saw games, PUBG, for example, right? So therefore, there is a definite mindset towards creating wealth that is kind of coming into the Indian subculture. There is also a mindset of exploring new avenues and new options, because look, like I said, 90% are not even aware or are afraid or not doing it. So now let's talk about the three Indias that you spoke about, right? So the India number one, which is the guys who click the first picture on the mobile phones, they are the most aggressive lot, right? Because this is the environment where they've been in ever since they've opened their eyes. So they understand how to operate, manipulate, live in, breathe in this environment. So therefore, this lot is the most aggressive one, and they all have certain expectations. Similarly, people like me, when, I started working for and with mobile phones at a time when, Sony Ericsson X3 and S4 used to come, where if you hit somebody, it's a cause for concern with that phone. So from that size of a phone, we are back to that size of a phone. So I think it's this thing. But again, to get people like me involved, and look, I would not call we are a very matured financial audience, but we are a very maturing financial audience at this segment as well. They also have their own set of needs and wants. And similarly are the final India that you're talking about. Now, one thing which is common to all, right, is the UX, is the design, is the how easy it is to navigate within. And this I'm saying, assuming that you manage to make them download the app or log on to your app, for example. So number one is that. Number two, of course, that again then percolates to time spent, because I'd rather spend time thinking about where I want to invest than trying to navigate and figure out where I am and what I'm going to do. So of course the design, then the time spent, and therefore the navigation and part of UX as well. And finally and the most important for newcomers is, how soon do I get my money back? And therefore the tie-up between the banking institutions and brokers like us, wherein, so that kind of, I think, are the three common things that could be more, but I think these are the three most important ones.
Apu, do you also see it similar, or are there any difference for your?
No, of course it's similar, but I would like to add something to what Kunal said. I mean, these three categories are completely different. I mean, they're poles apart with each other in terms of their behavior and even their approach towards mobile or the data consumption and all those things. I mean, if you take a look at the first generation, the ones who are born with the mobile. So now the behavior of them is very different. They expect their apps to understand them better, even better than themselves, to be very frank. And they rely on these apps to provide them the best recommendations. This is what this first generation wants. They want to be very quick as possible. They need quick transactions. The operation should be very fast. The third cohort, which probably is, I would say, above 50 or all, that this segment is completely different. They get shocked, if an app delivers them some kind of a hyper personalized message. So that's the difference between the behavior of all these things. And even after that, they're actually skeptical to follow the recommendations, which the app gives them. So I think the best generation is the one who has adapted to the mobile revolution. I think we are a part of that. At least I am a part of that. So there are different approaches which I think a brand should be taking. I mean, the first category, I would say for them, as Kunal rightly said, UI UX matters a lot. Quick transactions, focused recommendations. These are the things which these guys are actually looking out for. The second category, which probably I fall into, this category looks out for an educative approach. You need to educate them. You need to have patience with them. Let them navigate, discover your app, services, all those things. And the last one, who's the older generation, I think the brands should take a little bit of laid back approach, nudge them enough just to take the right step, guide them in navigating the app. So there are very different, probably vernacular language, usage of vernacular language. So these are the things and the approaches, difference in approaches, which I think should be taken for each of these different categories. Because the behavior is absolutely different. And that's actually a very big challenge for all the organizations, because I'm sure everyone has all the categories of clients. So it becomes very difficult to personalize your communications, your nudges and whatnot to such different categories of clients.
In fact, Apu, you touched upon a very, very relevant topic when you spoke about vernacular, and that was my next. Whereas I wanted to check upon and say that in a very quick reaction from each one of you, okay, despite all we talk about, okay, I personally feel that we have yet not been able to figure out the experience to n to the power of 1. Okay, for an individualized customer, because of mobile is a very, very personal device. Okay, and while it has driven the inclusion, I think there is a lot of scope, and I think the voice in vernacular are, if we are able to take if brands are able to take the right route to that, I think that will create much more financial inclusion. You can see a second wave coming up. Now we talk everything in numerical waves. after what we have gone through, I think it can actually create a second or a third or fourth, I don't know which number of wave that will be. Very quick reaction from or any one of you, if you would want to pick that up. Aksha, Kunal.
I think Aksha gave the best example of voice and vernacular. The Paytm thing which he said, that's a brilliant thing which these guys have done. Merging these two things. Where the speaker, it comes out through a speaker, as to what amount has been credited, that too in the local language.
Yeah, no, I'm
apart from voice, I think there is more actually. There are more visual ways of actually depicting, whether it's money coming in, money going out. Like a language of symbols actually cuts across languages, right? So when we move to iconography, or we move to a language that is universally understood, everybody knows this is thank you or welcome, and everybody knows what certain movements mean. So the use of haptic, the use of symbolism in our design and our screens, and reduction in words will also include more people, because they will feel more included. Emojis have done a great job at that, where just showing a thumbs up and a thumbs down easily tells somebody if the payment went through, payment didn't go through, or a tick mark or a cross. And symbolism along with voice together is going to play a huge role in how we start thinking about our audience, and not just restrict them to 10 languages or 12 languages, because coping with languages even for a brand is huge, in terms of how many can I have, am I going pan India, and how long will it take me for getting that going. So in that, the absence of language and presence of more numeric and symbolic data can really fill in the gap over there. And of course, we're all hoping for natural language processing to only get better in the coming years. And the likes of Google are investing in markets like India for the same, and hoping for that to actually become mainstream very soon. And hence, yeah, I'm totally in the direction of voice being one new big aspect in our digital ecosystems.
I completely agree.
I want to second what she's saying, because look, at the end of the day, we live as marketers and as brand custodians. We live in a country which has the biggest challenge that nobody else in the world has. Every 100 meters, this country changes. Now, if that happens, if I start personalization and changing my UI UX for every behavior and wills and wants, my app will be taking space more than what a phone can give. So therefore, I completely agree with what she's saying. I mean, symbolism, and that's what symbolism is the universal language. I mean, you go to any country on the planet and you say this, it can only mean one thing. You want to drink. Now, of course, depends on what time and what you want to drink, but it is what it is, right? So therefore, and especially, look, I come from ByteDance, right, where personalization was a big deal for us, because we wanted every consumer to come in and see exactly what he wants. It doesn't really work in this segment, because I can't keep changing my UI UX just because I'm talking to somebody from this region, that age groups. Therefore, there has to be a uniformity and this thing. So I completely agree with what she's saying. Bang on.
Kunal, I wish I could completely agree on that, because I personally feel symbolism also have limits. Okay, now this means yes, or this means yes. I mean, we can all chat about it. Both means yes and both means no, depending on where am I standing.
You don't have to use all of them. Just use some which are easily and commonly understood.
Yeah. So I would probably one last very quick. If I were to ask you guys, I mean, you guys at the helm of it, where do you think this is all taking us, and what do you think the future is? Any use cases which you want to leave us? I mean, UPI certainly has been one very huge use case. The Jam Trinity, giving out access to people, giving out the digital money. I think that certainly mobile certainly has helped there. Okay. It has helped people to be able to connect better with their money and experience their money better. Any other quick use cases for future, which you guys are thinking, which you guys think that are going to involve people and their money and can evolve using mobile in no particular order?
Yeah, see, I feel...
I'm sorry, I'm bumping in between, but we need a quick reaction from all of you as we're running short of time.
Okay, sure. So I feel, see, personalization will happen. So yes, personalization is a challenge right now. But ultimately, as the technology improves, more and more personalization will happen. And lot many more products will be available to customers through the mobile app. So today, we have stocks and mutual funds. So for example, fixed income, nobody talks about, but it's a big market. At 150 lakh crore of money lying in bank deposit, which is because Indians have largely the, fixed income oriented mindset. So a lot many more products will come. It will become much easier, to transact by these kind of products. I think that's the direction the industry will take.
Apurva, Kunal.
Well, I think mobile-based analytics can help a lot of institutions. It can help, probably, just for an example, say banks or lending institutions. It can help them probably determine the credit worthiness of these people. So nowadays you see small financing apps, right? They finance with as low as 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, and whatnot. So, and they finance these daily wage earners. So I see the future where the technology can be where, for example, a bank can actually estimate a daily earning probably of a tea stall owner, based on the footfall at the corner where he's standing at. So can actually just that and have some kind of a. So I think that's where we are heading, and I'd say it's endless. The future is great for mobile.
Mm-hmm. Kunal?
Just going by the question of the use case, what's happening right now, at my fingertips, sitting in my home in my pajama or my bathrobe, I can transact in global markets. I can receive money anywhere. I can actually do anything at all with my money at this point in time. And the future, yes, especially for our country, if going back to my point, if I can customize my product for that every 100 meters of India,
okay,
and give him a feeling.
I get disconnected or?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think Ashish.
I think some internet issues is there. Yeah, I'm fine now.
No, so I was just concluding my point. And I said, my dream is that if I could customize my product for that every 100 meters of India and give him a feeling of utmost confidence when he's on my product, be it a language, be it a UX, be it a design, I think that would be the penultimate thing for me. So, yeah.
Akshay, you want to add something before we?
Yeah, just one very small one. I think want to be able to design for the lowest denominator in the market and hence make interactions which are extremely low skill for the user but high in operation when it actually comes to the transaction. So that is the hope and the aim, and I believe that there is a lot of scope there.
I kind of agree, and I think it's been a very, very insightful discussion for me to learn from B2B to B2B to C to from how the designs are being done, and also looking at from how mobile has been interacting and delivering personalization without getting too personal and too intrusive. So thanks everyone for your time, and over to you, Rita. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
thank you.